let's start here. We still have to finish 6.7. The question asked you to write down the values of x for which f of x is greater than 0. So for f of x to be greater than 0, that means the y, the graph, must be positive. Okay, so looking at that one, I hope you can all see here the graph is positive. Which x values allows it? From, what is that, -3 up to 2. Okay, but each of the round brackets don't include those values because they're only asking for greater than 0 and not greater than or equal to 0. Okay, number 6.8. I only have the Afrikaans book here now, but it doesn't matter. I just quickly want to talk to you about this. This was a level 4 question. Okay, so when I gave grade 11 mathematics and they got this question, many kids just left it open. They didn't even try it. But I just want to explain to you what they're saying here. Remember, when they say f of p, that's y. So when I read that part, it says for a certain x value, you will get the same answer as for another x value, which is true for a parabola. We know that. There are two outcomes or the same outcome for two different inputs, because the graph goes like that. And then they say at 4. Right? So where the answer of y, the answer of the function is 4. They want those two inputs. And then they want you to take those two inputs and subtract them from each other. Does that make sense? Do you now know how to get the input or the question if they gave you the answer? You know how to do that. You let the equation be equal to it. So you've got your y answer, it's 4. You got it there. You let the equation be equal to 4. Then you can calculate which x gave an answer of 4. So you get it into standard form and you factorize and then you get your two answers. -2 and 1. And I will open up again in a moment. But look, there was one of them. -2 and 4. That was the one x value that will give you a y answer of 4. So we actually just did that to get the other one that will be somewhere here. So I want to draw it for you graphically so that I'm sure you understand what that way of writing means. So this was R and this was P. And that's why they said f of R is equal to f of p is equal to an answer of 4. They want you to find p and r. Do you understand the question? Because the sum we're doing, the mathematics, isn't hard. It's not something new. It's not something that you haven't done before. You've done things like this. The problem is knowing when to do what. And that's why it's important that you don't just focus on how to do the sum, but understanding why you are doing this when that was the question. Okay. The only reason I know this one is R and this one is P is because they said R is the one smaller than 0. So it's the -1. And then they asked you to calculate P minus R. So it's 1 plus 2 is 3. Can I page? The next question, question 5, was just on a parabola. Okay. They gave it to you in the ABC format. Nothing funny there, just minus 2x squared plus x plus 6. And the first question they asked you was to calculate the coordinates of the turning point. So you must remember, if they're asking for a coordinate, you're going to have to write it in coordinate format. So it will be bracket, x value, y value, close the bracket. I hope you guys know how to get the x value. Substituting into negative b over 2a, then you find it to be a quarter. Then you take that quarter, you substitute it into the place of x in that same equation. That must be a quarter there as well. And then you get an answer of 49 over 8. And then I wrote the turning point coordinate, bracket, x value, y value, close the bracket. Any question about finding the turning point? Are you all fine? Okay. The next one for 1 mark, they asked you to determine the y-intercept of f. You can just read that from the equation. The y-intercept is where you would have made x 0, so that becomes 0 and that becomes 0, so it's 0 and 6. Don't just write 6. Either you write, no, not either anything. Write the coordinate. Okay, 0 and 6. 5.3, the x-intercepts of y, of f. Now finding the x-intercepts, you would let y be equal to 0. And then I got it to be positive for the x squared first, and then I did the factorization. Now you are welcome to use the formula to find the x values, or you can use the combination. So for 2, it's a prime number, it's only 2 and 1 or 1 and 2. And then 6 can be 6 and 1 and 3 and 2. You only have to swap one of them. So 2 times 6 is 12, 1 times 1 is 1, 12 minus 1 won't give you 1. 2 times 3 is 6, 1 times 2 is 2, 6 minus 2, that won't give you 1. Then I move on to the next one. 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 1 is 2, 6 minus 2 doesn't work. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 3, that gives me 1. So I want the x, it will always be 2x and x, or x and 2x, there's no other way. But I want the 2 to multiply with the 2. So therefore it has to be in the other bracket. And then I want the 1 to multiply with the 3. And then you must just make sure of your signs. Because I want to get negative 1, it's going to have to be minus 4 plus 3. And not 4 minus 3. Because 4 minus 3 will give me 1. I need to get negative 1. And that's how I determine my signs. So 2x times 2 will be negative 2x. 3 times x will be 3x. And then I've got my 2x intercepts. And then the next question, they ask you to draw the graph of this parabola. So I started with all my critical points. There is the y-intercept, 0 and 6. There is the turning point, a quarter and 49 over 8. My one x-intercept, it's negative 1.5 or negative 3 over 2, and the other one is 2 and 0. And now that I have all of my critical points, I can just join them to draw the parabola. And there it is. Whose parabola is right? Got a nice one. You need to pay attention to the prior questions, because if you make mistakes there, then your graph is going to look crooked as well. Yes, we mark off your mistakes, but then if you have questions to answer about it, you will be struggling with it. So if you got it wrong, you go practice it again. The next question is a very important question that I want us to talk about. They're asking you about a k value. they're saying determine the values of k so that f of x equal to k has got equal roots. Now let's talk about this first. There's really no calculation that you're going to do with this type of stuff. Having equal roots means that this parabola is on the x-axis. So nothing changes except it moves down or it moves up depending on where it is, and then it has to move onto the x-axis. So equal roots or two of the same roots or however they state the words means this graph must be on the x-axis. So how far is this turning point from the x-axis? How far is it from there to there? 49 over 8. Because that's where the turning point's y value is. It's 49 over 8. So do you agree with me when I say that this function must be the same function minus 49 over 8? Then it will be exactly where it's supposed to be. Okay? So we want it to be f of x. You can write down the trinomial, but then we must have minus 49 over 8 there as well. And now you just have to be careful because sometimes they're going to give it to you as f of x equal to k. Sometimes they can say the values of k when it's f of x minus k. Or they can say f of x plus k. You're going to have to look at the situation. Now the reason I'm saying this, I want 49 over 8 to be subtracted. But this minus 49 over 8 is now on the side of f of x. It's supposed to be on the other side of the equal to. So if I say it must be minus 49 over 8, k must be minus 49 over 8, and it goes to f of x, it's going to become plus 49 over 8, and that means this graph is going to move up more. Do you see the problem there? Okay. So you have to look at where k is. Because k is on that side, I'm going to say k must be 49 over 8. Not minus 49 over 8. Because when that k comes over to f of x, then it will become negative 49 over 8. But you cannot just decide whenever I get k, I must change the sign. Because as I say, sometimes they ask it to you like this, sometimes they have the k on the same side. So you must be careful and look at the context in which the question is asked in the paper. This is very important. Okay. So all that equal roots means is that the turning point is on the x-axis. How far must it move up and down? It's always going to be the value of the turning point. Either subtract or add to it. And then you must just look where is k, so that you can decide whether you must plus or minus. The next question they had there was, if the graph of f is translated 2 units to the right and 1 unit upwards to form h, you have to determine the equation of h. Okay, so this was an easy transformation. It's not like yesterday where we have to reflect it and what. But it's moving left and right and up and down. Now, do you guys remember yesterday I said, if you do a transformation, we cannot do the transformation when it's in ABC form. We need to have it in PQ form. A is the same for all of them. So all I'm going to say is negative 2 bracket x, and now I need to put in the p value. Now we calculated the turning point to be a quarter, the x value. But for it to go into the bracket, I'm going to have to say minus a quarter. And then you close the bracket square. Nee, that's the Galalelu one. And then the other one, the y value is the normal one. We say plus 49 over 8. So the transformation that's happening is it's 2 units to the right and 1 unit up. But now you know left and right has to do with P. It's the odd one. So 2 units to the right will not be plus 2. It will be minus 2. And then 1 unit up, that will be normal, plus 1. And then you can just simplify it. F of x, h of x, excuse, this is now the new graph, equal to negative 2, bracket, x minus 2¼ squared plus 57, 57 over 8. Okay, I'm going to do one more sum. It's November 2015, question 7. It's also a straight line and a parabola. It has to do with the length of the line between the functions. I'm going to do it with you guys, and then I'm going to show you another one that you can practice, but you have the answers of it, just to practice it after we've done everything now again. Are you all done?
In the exam, are we doing it for?
No, just the parabola and the straight line. Depending on when I get the paper, if I get it the day before, for example, then I will replace the questions that you are not going to write on. If we get the copies the day that you write, so meaning I'm going to see the paper the same time that you see, then we're going to take out the questions that, so that the paper will count out of less. Okay, so I cannot exactly tell you right now, but you will not write on something that you haven't done. Okay. But you guys got the message. We will, when we're having our extra class the 28th, then we're also going to do an assignment in class on functions that will count for marks as well. Yes, I think on the timetable it says normal school day as well. So you can either go to all the different periods and go and sit there and do nothing, or we can come here and actually do something. That's the idea. There's 7 minutes left. Okay, can you just quickly go through this one with me, because this is this was a hard question in this specific paper. It will be quick. Okay. And then you are welcome to go and watch the video. I'm going to show you the easy or the shorter way, and then I'm also going to do completing of the square. You can watch that on the video as well. So they've given you 2 equations. It's a straight line and a parabola. Now I just want to show you the sketch. Can you see there's once again a line between the functions? Alright? But what's different in this one than the ones that we used to do is that the straight line is above the parabola. Okay? So if I look at the length of this line and I move further away, that line is going to get longer and longer and longer, and that side it's going to get longer and longer and longer. So this line does not have a maximum value. The maximum value is infinity. But this line does have a minimum value. There's a specific place where it will be the shortest it can be, and then it will be longer going on. Right, so the first question says, write down an equation or an expression in terms of x and k, because there's a k now, for the length of CD. Now the length of CD, I'm sure you all know this, we did it with the other ones. You're going to take the one equation minus the other equation. But with the other ones, the parabola was at the top, now the straight line is at the top. So we're going to say the straight line minus the parabola. Does that make sense? Okay? And then I have to multiply the negative in, and I find CD in its simplest form to be 2x squared minus 12x plus 3 minus k. That's all that was asked in the first question. It's the expression in its simplest form in terms of x and k. And while you're writing down, I'm going to start talking about the twist that they put in at number 7.2. At number 7.2, they say if the minimum length of CD is 5, calculate the value of k. So minimum value, if we want to get the minimum value or the maximum value, if you guys remember, we must get Q. Okay? Okay? But now we have Q. Q is 5. Right? But we want to find the value of k. So we're going to have to find an expression to find Q and then let it be equal to 5. Alright? So we do it in exactly the same way. So I did it here with completing of the squared. We'll just skip that. Normally, if we want to find the minimum or the maximum, we start with negative b over 2a. Do you agree with me? Because we first have to get p, then we can get q. So I can get p to be 3. Just with minus b over 2a. You understand where I'm getting this? Okay. Then I take that answer, I substitute it into the expression or the equation of that length, and I get an answer of negative 15 minus k because I don't have the full c value. And now that I have this, I know that this is q. But I also know that q is 5. And what do I want to do? I want to find k. Okay? So this is q as an expression, and q is 5 given. So I just let them be equal to each other, and then I find k to be negative 20. Do you understand that? But as I said, the maths we do is not something new. But it's understanding the question that they're asking us. Right there. See how you can go. I'm just going to show doing this with completing the square as well. Go. If you like to do completing of the square. I like doing completing of the square. You can also do it using that method. So I once again take that subtraction expression in its simplest form. So when I complete the square, I take the coefficient out of the first two terms. Do you remember that? Okay? Then I say half of b squared must be added. So half of b is 3, 3 squared is 9. Okay? And then I must also subtract it on the outside. But now I'm subtracting 18. Why am I subtracting 18 and not 9? I have to times it with that one. And I wrote here in pencil, just to explain this to you, what I actually have here because of the bracket is 2x squared minus 12x plus 18. That's what I'm actually adding. That's why when I subtract, I have to take that one times the 2. So that I add and I subtract the same value. Okay? Now I do the completing of the square, or the completing has been done. Now I rewrite it. That one there, this one square root, this one sine, this one square root, close the bracket, squared, plus 3k minus 18. Now this 3k minus 18 is q. So in the same way, I can just say q expression equal to q value, so that I can find the value of k as negative 20. So I get the same answer. Okay. Then I said to the Afrikaans class, you guys must remember before each of these question papers in the yellow book, there are also some summaries. Okay? The work summed up for you. So if you go and take a look there, I know this is Afrikaans now, don't worry about that. They've got the grade 10 functions where they have the straight lines, and then they give you the grade 10 parabolas. We're not doing that with the tables and what. On the next page, we have the grade 11 parabolas. They have the different formats, standard form 1, 2, and 3. But something I just want to show you is that in some textbooks, they give that PQ format as X minus P. And it happened, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, in one question paper, because it's different teachers that sets the paper or different parts of the paper. So a teacher that was using X minus P instead of X plus P had set that specific paper. And then our kids were completely confused because we know it as X plus P. But if they refer to it as X minus P, you just ignore it and you go on with X plus P. You write down your formula, A bracket X plus P, close the bracket, square, plus Q. And you do it as you normally would have done. Right. Ignore the fact that I say minus P. It is an accepted format, but it's the one used lesser, if that makes sense. Also in our textbooks, we have X plus P. When I was at school, we used it as X minus P. So I will tell you what the minus P does, is it changes the sign for you. Because remember, you must have to change the sign when you substitute into it. So if you use this one, the equation changes it itself. You don't change it. Okay. But then you must remember it has a negative in there as well. The result of a share. The short one, the klein. Okay. So don't stress about it if that happens. You work with it as you have been taught. Okay. You can look through all of this. Remember, you don't have to study the hyperbola and the quadratic, the exponential. Here they have the distances that we've done a lot about, where they're asking the distance between these 2 points, but you know they're actually asking the x-intercepts or the y-intercept or whatever. And then I taught the Afrikaans class to now, in class for the rest of the period, do example 2. That is the last question at this in this summary. And you also have the answers there on the right hand side. But don't just copy the answers. Close it and then you answer these questions. You will notice the first ones, they're easy. Then they get to the length of FP. The Afrikaans class said FP was not the one that they were struggling with. The maximum length. You guys know that one now, the maximum length. Then the next one is K with, find the value of K to have 2 equal roots. That's what we did now, the K with the equal roots. And then the last one, if I can just quickly talk to you about that one before I forget. Now they are saying f of x divided by g of x. So the kids, they lose their minds because now they're dividing it. Division and multiplication works the same way. You need to divide the functions and get a negative. How do you get a negative? If one is negative and the other is positive. Doesn't matter if it's division or multiplication. It's the same thing. Do you understand? Okay. So you can start with this now, example 2. Please don't just copy it. Okay. Do it in your books, but if you're stuck and if the time's up in the period, you can also go and look at the answers there, but don't just copy.